All right, and welcome in everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic, fantabulous, awesome freaking day. My name is Garrett Shumake, and you're listening to the Shumake Take, and this is the divisional round preview of the 2024-2025. I just had a brain fart. Welcome to the 2024-2025 divisional round preview of the NFL playoffs, and we got an interesting one. We got four interesting games I got going for you guys today. Going into the Elite Eight, the winners will move on to their conference championships. Championship Sunday is going to be very interesting. We'll have to get to that later on. But for right now, we got the divisional round to talk about. Again, I wanted to make this a regular podcast episode, but I decided I was going to keep it its own separate thing. Although episode 37 I was recapping the wildcard round, so episode 38 will be recapping the divisional round, which, by the way, if you didn't watch my wildcard round recap, go ahead and watch it immediately after getting done watching this one. But I don't have any news. Let's jump right in to our first game at 4:30 on Saturday. The number 4 Houston Texans traveling to the number 1 seeded Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get to see the debut of Patrick Mahomes in these playoffs. Going right into it, the Texans. No, let me backtrack for a second. Sorry. This game is going to be a little bit more interesting because there's a little bit more recency with these two teams because they faced off in week 17 or week 16. No, they faced off in week 16, and it was in Kansas City, and Kansas City beat them 27 to, I think it was 10. Either way, it wasn't a big score. Texans got beat pretty bad by Kansas City in what was Kansas City's one of their best offensive performances all year long. And for the Texans, you have 3 big keys to win this game. You actually have 4 big keys this time around to win this game. And while I just mentioned the Chiefs offense having, a day against Houston, it's going to start with CJ Stroud attacking this defense. Kind of like with when I talked about with the Rams going up against Minnesota, you're going to have to really deceive this defense. They're a defense that plays really consistent. They play really sound. And you're going to have to really out-scheme them and throw everything you got at them. You're going to have to give it everything you got in order to win. Because, like I said, the Chiefs defense is clean. It's very consistent. And you simply don't have the offensive consistency and the firepower to be able to compete like you did in the first go-around. Tank Dell got hurt in this game in the regular season, which really hurt them. And not having Tank Dell in this game is going to hurt them here too. And while they had a lot of success on offense against the Chargers, the Chiefs defense, when it comes to playoff time, this defense plays a lot better. They play a lot different. Even in years past, where early on when Spags was the defensive coordinator and their defense was bad in the regular season, in the playoffs, they were really, really good. If you heard my dog barking, I'm really sorry. But we'll continue on. The second key for the Texans, keep CJ Stroud clean, help him out. Same key as last week. Get him out in space, use some bootlegs, get some easy schemed up throws, and really make him feel comfortable. You're on the road against Kansas City in the playoffs, literally the most hostile environment you can go into. So it is paramount to getting CJ Stroud comfortable and making him feel ready for this moment, and making sure that his offensive line contains the pass rush. All that stuff like I mentioned last week against the Chargers. Same thing applies here. The third key, dominate the time of possession. Here's the thing. Patrick Mahomes is going to have his way with this defense. Despite the performance that they had last week against the Chargers, I don't care. I've seen it enough times where Patrick Mahomes is going to play fantastic. He is going to play fantastic. I don't care. It's going to happen. No matter what you do, he's going to make plays and take apart this defense. So, on offense, what you're going to have to do is dominate time of possession. The one way you beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs is if you don't let him touch the field. If you can run the ball well and sustain drives, keep him off the field and score points, you can win this game. As long as he does not touch the field, or more importantly, don't let him touch the ball last. Do not let him touch the ball last. You can win this game. And the fourth one, minimizing penalties. And I'm not saying this because the Chiefs, get all the calls. I'm not saying that because of that. You want to know why the Chiefs get so many calls? It's because the Chiefs are a juggernaut. They're a great football team, right? And what happens is that every other team is below them. And what happens, you make a play or you're going to make a play, you get excited, you're going to get a stop, and you get a little extra. You give a little bit more than you should, boom, roughing the passer call. Oh, you got this guy's going to beat you. You don't want to get beat and give the ball back to Mahomes. Oh, holding call. That's exactly what happens. It happened all the time against, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. When you're going up against a superior team, it is easy to panic when things aren't going well and you don't want to get beat, so you end up trying to overcompensate. You get a penalty, and likewise on defense, you're going to get a stop. You end up getting a little bit more excited. Bam, you get a little bit too hard of a hit. You get a little bit extra. Boom, penalty. That's how that stuff happens. It's all psychology, guys. It's all psychology of why this happens. And so that's why the fourth key is so important in minimizing penalties. Because if you get penalized, you are going to lose. You are simply going to lose. And the three keys above it aren't going to matter. If you get a ton of penalties, you're not winning this game. Sorry, you're not going to. That probably should have been the first key, but I put it at the bottom because it's not really schematic or analytical stuff. It's just kind of like psychology and mental aspects of the game. And I was going to say make one of these keys containing Patrick Mahomes, but the more I thought about it, that's not going to happen. That's simply not going to happen, which is why dominating time of possession is the key over that. Because controlling what you can control running the ball well, and you can control the time of possession and control the clock. So if you can do that, you can beat Mahomes. You're not going to beat Mahomes by trying to contain him because it's not going to happen. It's simply not going to happen. But going into the Chiefs, their keys. Number one, they got to win on third down on offense and defense. Going back to Houston, their key to win is going to be dominating time of possession. So being able to, on defense, get them off the field and give the ball back to Mahomes, bingo. And then likewise, on offense, you got to win on third down there too. You got to go down the field and score points, because if you can't go down and score points early and often, Houston's going to get the ball back and they're going to keep you off the field. So win on third down. You just got to win on third down. It's not, I shouldn't say it's not hard. That's ignorant. But it's something that you should be able to do and the best teams in the NFL do, but it's critical. It's really critical because the one avenue Houston has to win, in my opinion, is to keep Mahomes off the field and to put up points. So if you cannot put up points yourself and, win on third down, and then defensively you don't get Stroud off the field, it's going to be really hard to win this game, and you might actually lose if that happens. And the second one is you're going to have balance on offense. If you want your best chance to win and maximize that, you got to do both. And I know that the Chiefs are a heavy volume passing team and don't run the ball particularly well, which is why, this offense had its struggles all year, right? It's not a coincidence. So you got to be able to run the ball well here. Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine, all those guys got to get involved and do well. I don't care how it has to happen, who gets the bulk of the carries. I don't care. If you can run the ball well and balance this passing game, which is the overall point of the key, having balance on offense gives you the best chance to win. And the third key, this defense is going to have to get after CJ Stroud. You have the pass rush, you have the matchup advantage because this Houston offensive line isn't very good, but they did have a good performance against the Chargers. They played pretty darn well. So you got Chris Jones, you have George Karlaftis, these guys have to dominate. If you want to win and get CJ Stroud off the field so you can get the ball back to Mahomes, this defensive line has to get after CJ Stroud. But ultimately, who do I have winning this game? I think it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, to the surprise of almost nobody. Because, look, I think they will get CJ Stroud off the field and make this offense sputter. It's going to happen because the Texans have not been able to run the ball consistently. And while they ran well against the Chargers, like I said, the Kansas City Chiefs defense plays completely different when they're in the playoffs. It is a much, much, much harder unit to stop. And the second reason, Texans are going to get a ton of penalties. I think that's going to happen. Simply put, the mental aspect of going up against the number one seed on the road, it's going to happen. There's going to be penalties. On third down, there's going to be a little bit extracurricular. There's going to be pass interference. It's going to happen at points, and it's going to kill them on drives where they could get off the field or convert on third down. It's going to happen. And then the third one, kind of, I'm probably going to get an eye roll for this, but when do you doubt Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs? Never. Until he loses, you don't doubt him. You simply don't doubt him at all, because he has literally been in the AFC Championship at least every single year he has been a starting quarterback in the NFL since 2018. That's 7 straight years of making it to the NFC Championship. He has never lost in the wildcard round. He has never lost in the divisional round. It's never happened. And why would I expect it to happen now? I simply can't. While Houston's going to put up a fight, and this game's going to be a little bit more competitive than I think people would expect on a surface level, Kansas City's going to win. I think Kansas City, they're a much better football team, and they're the best. They are this generation's New England Patriots. They are the dynasty right now. And what happens is that dynasty always performs well in the playoffs. This is what happens. Excuse me. Moving on to the 8 o'clock game on Saturday night. The number 6 seeded Washington Commanders traveling to the number 1 seeded Detroit Lions. This game is going to be interesting because of the aggression. Obviously, the Lions are known for their aggression going for it on fourth down, and the Commanders went for it 5 times against Tampa. This game will be very, very aggressive, and both teams are going to lay it all out there. For the Commanders, that is their first key, is to match Detroit's aggression. Whoever goes for it more on fourth down and gets more conversions will win this game. Straight up, that will be the stat to watch. Whichever team goes for it more on fourth down and gets more conversions will win this game. Because, look, for the Commanders, the Lions are who they are. They fully embrace who they are, and they're going to come at you with who they are. They're going to do that. So at this point, you have nothing left to lose. You're going to have to just lay it all out there and give it everything you have. Because this team is going to, not only are they built to go for it on fourth down, Detroit is, they're also built to stop it. So you're going to have to be able to match it. And if you don't match it, you're not going to win this game. But getting more to schematic things, key number 2, attack these corners. And not just attack these corners because the secondary has been inconsistent for Detroit. The big thing is making them run. Jaden Daniels has to be able to run around, make plays, and not be contained as much as he was against Tampa. Because the Lions have shown, when they do go up against mobile quarterbacks and make these corners have to run for extra time, the players will get open. Terry McLaurin, De'Ami Brown, Zacchaeus, Zach Ertz, these guys are going to get open. If you make these corners run around and have to cover these receivers for an extended period of time, it's going to happen. So being able to get out of the pocket and run around will be paramount. And that's why attacking these corners and making them run is key number 2. And then key number 3, really not schematic, more philosophically, this offense is just going to have to be dang near perfect. It's simply just going to have to be dang near perfect. Because Detroit's offense is going to have their way with this defense. Straight up, I'm sorry, this defense is going to get cooked. Washington's defense is not going to put up a good performance. This offense is going to this is going to be a shootout. I firmly believe this first half is going to be kind of, a little bit back and forth, and it'll be a low score. I think it's going to be like a 16-10, 13-10, 13-13 score at the half. But I don't know what the exact over-under is. But this game is going to go over 50 points easily. This is probably going to be like a 31-28 type of win, or going to be like a 35-34 type of win, 35-30. It's going to be a shootout. The second half is going to be a shootout, in my opinion. So this offense needs to rise to the occasion and be absolutely perfect, because the playoffs are going to depend on it, and your defense is simply not going to do good enough. I already know that's going to happen. And going to Detroit, your first key to winning this game is to run, and run some more. David Montgomery, I don't know if he's going to be back for this game. things are pointing to him potentially being there, so which if it does, that's going to be huge. But Jahmyr Gibbs, in David Montgomery's absence, has not slowed down, and quite frankly, he has gotten better. So against the Commanders' defensive line, which has not been good against the run, I would expect them to run this football, just like they have on everybody else all year long. I don't expect that to change. And if you're going to win, got to stick with what you do best, which is running the football. Secondly, spacing and quickness in the passing game. This offense caters to their player skill sets really, really well. But I think the secondary for Washington, as good as it's been, they can be a little sticky. I'll admit that. They can be a little sticky sometimes, which is why spacing and quickness is going to be so important, which is why I expect, a lot of play, this heavy play action is going to be important. Amon-Ra St. Brown, get him open quickly. Jameson Williams, get him the ball early and often. He is your big play guy. He is your speed guy. I expect him to get a ton of targets in this game. I expect Sam Laporta to get a lot of safe short throws in this game to help move the chains and get space in the short area of the field. And the third key, this defense has to contain Jaden Daniels. Look, Tampa had a good formula to do that. They had a really good formula at containing Jaden Daniels for most of that game. And blanked out. Detroit, in Week 18 against Minnesota, their defense literally shut down and broke apart one of the best offenses in the entire NFL. They did that. Aaron Glenn had a fantastic game plan. And I think he will do that again. I think he can do that again, and they have to do that again if they want to win. And kind of giving it away here, I have the Detroit Lions winning this game. They have a much better football team through and through. They have better coaching through and through. They are a tough football team that is built for this moment. They were built for this. They were made for this. And considering how the weapons that they have on offense going up against this defense, it feels like a massive mismatch. And for the Commanders, going up against Aaron Glenn's defense, which sure isn't 100% healthy, but looking at what Tampa did to contain Jaden Daniels and looking at how well they were able to put a game plan to stop the Vikings in Week 18, I believe that Aaron Glenn is going to come up with another masterclass to stop this offense. While it's not going to be perfect, I think they're going to do enough to win. And when it matters most, they're going to get after Jaden Daniels and stop him when it matters most. And that's why I have the Detroit Lions winning this game, going to their second straight NFC Championship game. We'll move on to Sunday's games at 3 o'clock. The 4-seeded Rams will travel to the number 2-seeded Philadelphia Eagles. The big storyline of this game, if you didn't watch my wildcard recap, I would go ahead and watch that when I'm watching this. But one of the big things I talked about and one of the big storylines going into this game is this Eagles offensive line versus the Rams defensive line. The Eagles offensive line, top 3 unit in the NFL, but this Rams defensive line got 9 sacks. They had one of the greatest performances I have almost ever seen a defensive line have. It was that good. It was that good. So it'll be a very interesting thing to see these young players on this defense going up against this Eagles offensive line, which has, it has experience. Lane Johnson at tackle has been there forever. Jordan Mailata, while younger, has been there for a long time. Cam Jurgens, the center, was a Pro Bowler this year. Mekhi Becton ended up being a solid player for them. So, this Eagles offensive line is elite. This is going to be a huge, huge test for this Rams defensive line. And going into the Rams, the way you're going to win is you're going to have to deceive them. Straight up, despite the performance that they had, if I'm being real for a second with you guys, I don't think this defensive line going just straight up, blow for blow with the Eagles offensive line is going to get the job done. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do a lot of what got them success against the Vikings offensive line. You're going to have to try and deceive them and confuse them. And how do you deceive them? run a bunch of stunts, run corner blitzes, bring a lot of pressure on one side, bring in corner blitzes and drop these defensive linemen into coverage and make it harder for them to communicate with each other and figure out who's going to block who. If you can deceive this offensive line, maybe you can get a couple sacks on Jalen Hurts, maybe get him off the field on third down a couple times, and give your offense a chance to do what key number 2 is. And just like last week against Minnesota, it's the same thing. You're going to have to win by deceiving and out-scheming this defense and getting more out of everybody. It's going to have to be the exact same way because the Rams, just like with Minnesota, if it comes to it and you have to get into a shootout, this offense does not have the firepower to do it. And against this Philadelphia Eagles defense, which is really, really good, I think they will have a much better success against the Rams than the Vikings did. The Vikings simply don't have the playoff experience. The Eagles do. The Eagles very much do. Not to mention, they were coming, last year in the playoffs, they got blown out against Tampa. This year could be like a revenge tour type of season for Philly. And the third key here for the Rams, don't turn the ball over. God, please don't turn the ball over. The Rams didn't do it against the Vikings. The Rams have not been a team that turns the ball over a lot in the year overall. They don't make mistakes. And Philly, they got 4 turnovers last week. They picked off Jordan Love 3 times. They got the fumble on the opening kickoff. They're going to try and set a physical tone. So being able to maintain possession, do not turn over the football is going to be paramount. Moving to Philly, their first key, you got to start fast. Got to start fast. And I talked about this too in my wildcard preview. Jalen Hurts was coming off of a concussion, so I get it. You want to give him some short, easy throws, high percentage stuff, make him comfortable. But A.J. Brown having 1 catches for 10 yards, stuff like that is not going to cut it. Against this Rams team that played out, it's not going to cut it. You got to start off fast and you got to start off quick. Because if you don't, the Rams will you will allow these Rams to hang around. And the Rams have playoff experience. They know what it's like to be in these moments. So you absolutely cannot start slow and let them hang around with you early. If you're going to beat this Rams team, put the pedal to the floor and go. Go quickly and do not stop. Simply do not stop. You cannot afford to let the Rams hang around and get one over on you from time to time. Because if you do, it is going to make your job that much harder. Likewise, with key number 2, with the Rams we're talking about the Rams having to deceive this offensive line. For the Eagles side of things, this offensive line has to stay vigilant. They cannot succumb to the deception that the Rams are going to try and throw at them. Because the Rams, while they're talented, simply do not have the talent to match the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, which is why deception is so important to this Rams game plan. So you got to stay vigilant and do not let them get to Jalen Hurts. Because if you let them get to Jalen Hurts and get behind the sticks, it's going to make your job harder and will make it harder to start fast and remain being fast the whole game. And along with these, it's all kind of going together here. Third key, spread the ball around early. Get Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown the ball. Get Saquon Barkley involved in the passing game as well, along as the run game. Because I don't think he's going to be able to run the ball rampant like he kind of did in the second half against Green Bay. You're going to have to, in a way, kind of have to throw the ball a little bit more to set up this run game a little bit. So spreading the ball around early to everybody. If that doesn't happen, it makes your job harder. And finally, defensively, going into a defensive key. Key number 4. They have a 4th key here. Defensively, play soundly and don't get caught on your heels. Again, with this offense trying to deceive you, and that's what they're going to have to try and do to win, don't get caught napping. Don't be like this Vikings defense and on 4th down, jump and give them a free first down, and then they go and score a touchdown on you. Don't let that happen. All these little, heavy play action, all the play action, these draws, counter, all the stuff that the Rams are going to try and throw at you, do not get caught on your heels. You are a top 3 defense in the NFL, and you just witnessed what the Rams did to a defense that's on par with the Eagles. Do not let that same thing happen again. All that to say is, that's going to make winning harder. And you do not want to make all these things, you don't want to make it hard for you to win, because key number 5, I made 5 keys for this. Honestly, no, I'll continue for a second. Key number 5, again, do not let this pressure sink in, because if all these 4 keys don't work, key number 5 will become even. The key number 5 will be the thing that'll put a chokehold on this entire thing for Eagles winning, because I talked about it in the wildcard preview video. If you're winning, Philadelphia fans love you. If you're not winning, they hate you. And just as much as they will cheer for you when you're winning, if you start losing and you start allowing plays to go over your head against this Rams offense, and then Jalen Hurts starts to get sacked and it starts killing drives and this offense sputters, these fans will turn on you on a dime quickly, and eventually it might almost become a away game, as much as they will be booing you if you cannot complete these 4 keys to win. Because if these don't work, the 5th key of not letting the pressure sink in, the pressure will sink in and it will get harder and harder and harder for you to win. So being able to just start fast on offense, offensive line staying vigilant, spreading the ball around, and this defense playing sound will allow the fans to stay on the fans' good side and will help you win this game. It doesn't have to be hard. It does not have to be hard. The Eagles are a superior football team, and I don't want to say they're going to win because they're a superior football team. It's going to be a tough effort regardless, but don't make things hard on yourself. Don't make things hard on yourself more than it needs to be, because if you do, the Rams could get one over on you. And if that happens, we could be having a really interesting conversation in Philadelphia. But who do I have ultimately winning? I may have kind of sold it here a second ago, but I have the Eagles winning this game. And again, it's not going to be as simple as, compared to the Vikings beating the Rams when I had that in that preview video for the wild card. It's not going to be, better coaching, better players. It's not going to be like that, because the Rams just took that ideology and threw it out the window. So no. Why do I have the Eagles winning this game? Because that fast start they need, I think they're going to do that. Considering Jalen Hurts is going to be healthier, he's going to be more ready to go in this game. I think they're going to put the ball in his hands early and often. And defensively, I think they're going to rise to the occasion and slow down this Rams offense. Not because I think they're better, but I think they watched what happened, and I think they're going to be more vigilant. I think they're going to be ready to go for this Rams deception and for what they're going to try and throw at them. They're going to be ready for it. And kind of like what I mentioned a second ago with, the Commanders in Detroit, sorry. What was it? Maybe it was in the preview against the Rams and the Vikings. The thing is, the Rams, they're not built for a shootout. They are not built for a shootout. And so with the Eagles getting onto that fast start and getting points on the board early, the Rams playing from behind, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard for them to win this game on the road against a great team in Philly. And that's why I have the Eagles winning this game and moving on to the NFC Championship game to face Detroit. And if that's the case, oh man, that would be a fantastic football game. We got to move on to the 6:30 game on Sunday Night Football. The best game of the week. Very much could be the best game of the entire NFL playoffs. The number 3 seeded Baltimore Ravens travel to the number 2 seeded Buffalo Bills. Both teams ran the ball well, dominated time of possession. Their formula to win was exactly the same. But the other caveat to this game that's going to make it really good, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, the 2 leading MVP candidates. These are the 2 guys going head-to-head. Winner moves on to the AFC Championship game. Earlier in the year, Baltimore beat the daylights out of Buffalo, ran all over them, threw all over them. Josh Allen and the Bills had no answer. But going back To Baltimore, things are going to be different now. That was earlier in the year. So the Ravens, key number one, continue your dominance in the run game. Honestly, I'll just say it right now. The keys for Buffalo and the Ravens are going to be exactly the same for the most part. Key number one is for Ravens, continue dominance in the run game. For Baltimore, you know who you are. You have embraced who you are. Continue to be who you are. Don't deviate from that. Because the Bills are going to try and stop the run. They're going to. But being able to run the ball and continue doing that will continue your success. But like I just said, the Bills are going to try and stop the run. And I think they're going to have a little bit more success than what the Pittsburgh Steelers did. Which leads to key number two. You got to get more out of this passing game, at least somewhat. I think at some point, you're going to have to use a passing game to set up the running game. At some point, it might have to happen. And I don't know if Zay Flowers is going to be back for this game. I'm hoping that he does. But even if so, if he is or not, they are going to have to try and get more out of this passing game. Lamar Jackson is going to have to make plays out of structure like he did against Pittsburgh. We're going to have to see more of it. And yeah, you're going to have to get more out of this passing game because this Bills defense is better than Pittsburgh. And they're going to be coming in with a lot of juice. The third key, contain Josh Allen. Do not let him run around and kill you. He's done it all year long. He did it to Denver. And this Baltimore Ravens defense is the best defense that Buffalo had faced all year long. And they won. They won that matchup the first go around. So containing Josh Allen is the key to beating Buffalo. Do not let him run around on you and make plays. And the fourth key, actually, I'll save it. I'll save that fourth key at the end when I conclude with both teams here. For Buffalo, their keys are still the same, but it's a little bit different. Continuing your dominance in the run game, that stays mostly the same. Being able to run the ball well in the playoffs at home, it's going to be snowing. It's that much more important because throwing the ball is going to be harder. But at the same time, you got to get more out of this passing game. Again, it's the same key here because Baltimore will be going after this run game and trying to stop it. And Buffalo, unlike, compared to Baltimore, Buffalo, I would say, is a little bit better schematically built to throw the ball down the field consistently because their players, they utilize their skill players very, very well. Big run after catch, right? Spacing, Khalil Shakir, Amari Cooper, right? Mac Hollins. They know how to use these players to their best of their ability in the passing game. And so they're going to have to get more out of it. And in that regard, I think Buffalo might have a better shot with that. Not to mention the at-home thing also helps. And they also have the experience playing in the snow, which will give them a little bit of an advantage here. And for Buffalo, contain Lamar Jackson. Don't let him run around and make plays. You saw what he did against Pittsburgh and what he's done all year long. Don't let that happen. Do not let that happen. This Bills defense in the later half of the year has had some games where they have been shown to be susceptible. You absolutely cannot, out of all quarterbacks, not be susceptible to Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson will destroy this defense if they don't do a good enough job at containing him. And then the fourth key, this goes to both teams here. Don't get caught up in the moment. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean with not getting caught up in the moment. These two teams, these two quarterbacks are the biggest center of when it comes to the discussion of teams not doing good enough in the playoffs and quarterbacks not doing good enough in the playoffs and getting this overrated tag because of it. That debate circles these two teams and these two quarterbacks more than any other team and quarterback in the NFL. When we talk about, you got to be able to step up and they haven't done anything in the playoffs yet. Lamar Jackson, one of the first on that list, and Josh Allen is right there next to him. These two teams know what is at stake. They know what's at stake here. You cannot get caught up in the moment. If you go down, don't think that it's over or make a mistake and compound it and make things worse. Likewise, if you get up in this game, do not get complacent. You need to keep pushing harder. The bigger you're up, the harder you need to push. Straight up. And in my opinion, if you're up 2 scores, most of the time you're up 2 scores, your offense, you're still throwing the ball, but you might be trying to run the ball a little bit more and trying to run the clock out. No. Well, running the football is going to be important. Obviously, it's like first key number 1 for both teams. When we're talking about running the football, I'm not talking about running the football and running clock out. No. If you're up 2 scores, go even harder and go up by 3 and run up the score. I don't care. This game means everything for both of these teams because one team will move on to the AFC Championship against Kansas City, and the other team will be losing in the divisional round, and the conversation of these quarterbacks being overrated and not being able to do anything in the playoffs will continue again. Both teams cannot afford it. They simply cannot afford to get caught up in the moment and let it overtake them and lose. One of these teams will get caught up in the moment. That's going to be the defining thing here, right? The team that gets too caught up in the moment will be the one that'll lose, and it will show. It will show. In the fourth quarter, one of these teams is going to make a terrible mistake, whether it's not executing on 4th down, whether it's a turnover, right? One of these teams is going to make a critical mistake in this game at the end. It's going to happen. And the team that doesn't do it will be the one that wins. Simple as that. So who do I have winning this game? I mentioned that, Baltimore, they run the ball really, really well. They've embraced who they are. But also with the win against Pittsburgh, you could really feel how much they want it. And then Buffalo, they're at home. They're in the snow. They're in an environment that they're used to playing in. And they can also build their passing game a little bit better than Baltimore has been able to, in my opinion. While, yes, Lamar Jackson has put up better numbers than Josh Allen. But when you think of the Ravens offense, you think of run. With Buffalo, you kind of think of run, pass. You think a little bit more of throwing the ball downfield with Buffalo than you do with the Baltimore Ravens and their offensive philosophies. But all that being said, which team is not going to make that mistake? I think it's going to be Baltimore. I think Baltimore is going to force that critical mistake. I think they are going to run the ball, on this Bills defense for a majority of the game. The key is they have embraced who they are 100%, and Buffalo has done that too. But what I saw from Baltimore against Pittsburgh compared to what I saw against Buffalo against Denver, sure, they both whooped on their responding teams, but I felt something with Baltimore, and that's going to sound weird, and I don't want, as me, I try to be fair and objective. This is letting my personal bias kind of get into this, which I will admit, and it's not 100% fair to Buffalo, but at some point, I kind of have to let my personal bias, I have to acknowledge it. And personally, looking at how Baltimore willed their way to a win against Pittsburgh in the way that they did, I have Baltimore winning this game. And that first reason for winning is that will to win against Pittsburgh. The second one, this team in the second half of the year has been better holistically. Baltimore's offense has not slowed down one bit, but this defense has been shaky in the first half, and in the second half has been one of the best defenses, if not been the best defense in the NFL. Compared to Buffalo, their offense has been great all year. But in the second half, this defense has had bad performances. And performances that are, bad, like Buffalo against Detroit and against the Rams. But then they also had some underwhelming performances where I thought they could have done better, right? Like where they, against the Patriots. I know that the majority of their starters didn't play in that game, but they were in there for a little bit, and Joe Milton had a good game. So, this Bills defense has been susceptible in this latter half of the year. And again, the team that doesn't make that critical mistake will win. And I had it here in reason 3 that the quarterback that makes more big plays will win. But a quote that Troy Aikman said on Monday Night Football in the Rams and Vikings game has really resonated with me. It's not about the team that makes bigger plays and makes more plays. It's about the team that makes the fewest bad ones. Because turnovers in the playoffs are much more backbreaking and much more momentum shifting than a big play down the field is. Because look at Commanders in Tampa. The Commanders, they got a bunch of big shots down the field, but when it got into the goal line, the Bucs made multiple goal line stands. But the turnover, the fumble that Baker Mayfield had, that was the play that made the game. Not the big plays that the Commanders got in the passing game down the field to get down into the red zone and get, on the 1 yard line. It was the one turnover that they got that defined the game. It's the team that makes the fewest bad plays. And I think Baltimore won't do that. And I think Buffalo will be the team that makes the one critical mistake in the fourth quarter that causes the swing. Give me Baltimore to win this game and go into Kansas City for the second straight year for a rematch of a lifetime for them. If you guys, that's going to do it for me today. If you guys made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you guys leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know who you think who's going to win each of these games. And of course, make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button. Being sure to like these videos and subscribing to the channel helps the algorithm and helps me out a ton into growing this channel and allowing me to spread my football passion to more and more people on this platform. Also, make sure you guys are sharing the video. Make sure that you guys are sharing it on social media or by word of mouth, getting everybody locked in and locked on to the Shumake Take podcast, coming out with great content with you guys multiple times a week, 2 days a week to be exact, at 8 a.m. and at 8 a.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday. Trying to get this content scheduled to be perfect. This one's not going to be coming out at 8 a.m. on Wednesday. You guys will probably see this early Thursday morning. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.